All right. Good morning, guys and gals. So we're going to start slightly differently just because I heard a lot of suggestions or requests about back pain. I don't think you're going to like it, but you'll like it once you're done. So let's go ahead and start with our blanket. So we're going to start with our blanket first, like so. And then I'd like you to take the fringe side and you are going to roll that neatly and compactly. And you really want to try to make this as dense as possible. So the tighter that you make this, the better. And if you feel like you need to make it a little tighter, you just scrunch that blanket a little closer to you and make it really, really super tight. Awesome sauce. Cool. So now we've got two options. Option number one is you're going to sit on top of your shins and you're going to bring that blanket roll to the top. I know. To the top of your pelvis and fold over it. Option number two is you do it on your belly. So maybe you just bring it at the top of your hip bones and you land. It depends upon how you're feeling. So you try out both options if you think. And depending upon if you've recently eaten, you might be like, yeah, this is not fun. And then if you're in that child's pose position, you might want to put a block underneath your head to help the floor be a little closer to your face. Oh, hello indeed. And what you're going to do is just spend the first few moments of just seeing if you can bring as much of your chest, your head, torso to the floor. And I want you to breathe into that blanket to try to create some compression on the front of the body and then some expansion on the back of the body. Yep. Is that good? And so you're just going to breathe. You're going to breathe. You're going to breathe. This week I've been doing a combination of two different classes, which I think is kind of ironic. One of them has been like a series of power vinyasa, which generally I don't like power vinyasa anything. And then the other one has been a therapeutic yoga workshop based upon digestive issues. So we're going to see how some of those things manifest today. But as you're here, I'd like you to take the next 10 breath cycles to see where you can start to just notice where your body's holding tension, where you're holding a sense of resistance or maybe just apprehension. And then see if you can just allow yourself to notice that. I don't care if it changes. I just want you to notice that and see if you can accept and be with whatever is present. And then you might notice that as you just start to sort of acquiesce to the reality that might be happening at this moment in time, that things just start to naturally shift. They start to naturally let go. They start to naturally just open up. And as you take these next 4 to 5 breaths, I invite you to see if you can start to invite in a deeper inhalation and a deeper exhalation. And again, just notice what happens by being with, tuning into, being present to the sensations that are happening in your body. Awesome. At the end of this next exhalation, you'll gently bring your hands to the floor. Press your hands up to hands and knees. Remove that blanket roll off to the mat or off to the right and to the left, and then lie back down on your abdomen in heads up, 7-up style. And once you find yourself here, take a moment to notice if you want your feet at least hip distance apart, and then your toes turning in or your toes turning out. You might need to shift or shimmy your hips a little bit right to left and see how that settles into the low back. Some of you might even choose to bend the knees and slowly windshield wiper the feet one direction and then the other. But again, slowly is the operative adjective there. And so you're just noticing what's starting to happen as you start to settle in and be present to and present with. Awesome. Those of you that are moving the feet, gently come back to stillness, come back to center, extend the legs long. Cool. And now I want you to just take 3 breaths here. In this still spot, notice where you can breathe into your belly again. Noticing now that the more you push down into the belly, the low back starts to widen. And then start to notice that the more you compress into the belly, you compress into the chest. And then maybe the ribs will start to widen. And then notice if you can soften any tension around your shoulders, around your mouth, around the jaw. And you've got 3 more breath cycles here. So our hands are directly underneath our forehead. Our forehead is resting on our hands. Yep, heads up, 7 up. There we go. Nice work. Fantastic. All right. From here, let's slightly lift our head off our hands. Go ahead and cactus your arms out into a cactus shape. Some of you will keep your elbows bent. Some of you will straighten your left arm out to the left, shoulder height. From there, you might walk your left elbow or left hand a little bit more towards the left, and then turn your face to the right. Step your right hand underneath your right shoulder and start to roll to your left. That right hand might step in a little closer. The right knee, the top knee might bend. It might stay straight. We're looking for a stretch across the top of your armpit region, your pecs. And you're just going to breathe. You might lift your head up and away from the floor a bit and maybe lean back. You might not do any of that, but you're just checking in. You're breathing into your chest. You're breathing into your belly. On your next in-breath, let's go ahead and come back through center. Extend the right arm out to the right. Maybe the elbow is straight. Maybe the elbow is bent. Walk the elbow or the hand to the right. Turn your face to the left. Step the left hand underneath your left shoulder. And then start to roll to your right. And then again, notice, do you want the top leg straight? Do you want the top knee bent? Would you like to lift your head away from the floor and maybe lean back a smidge? Wherever you are, you're just pausing and you're breathing. Nice work. All right. On your next in-breath, gently come back to center. From here, let's go ahead and bring our hands forward just a little bit. So we're going to make little number 11s. And so the further forward your elbows are, the less of a compression in your back. So we'll just start by walking our elbows pretty far in front of our shoulders. And you just notice how this feels in your back. Since there was a lot of comments about our back, you check in with that. The first thing I want you to check in here is make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Press your pinky toenails down into the floor. If you're like, yeah, Jessica, I'm going to stay here, you stay here. Otherwise, you might walk your elbows directly underneath your shoulders for Sphinx. We'll take a moment to pause here. Actively push down through all 10 fingers. Drop your right ear over to your right shoulder. Pull back isometrically, so that's without moving your left hand, and maybe you open and close your mouth a few times. We're looking for this crazy stretch happening on the left side of our necks, saying hello to the scalene muscles, and you're just pausing and you're breathing. And when you feel like you've had enough of that, you'll bring your head back to center, reactivate your feet, and then drop your left ear to your left shoulder isometrically. So that's without moving. Push down into your right hand, suck it back, and then maybe open and close your mouth a few times. We're looking for a nice stretch happening here. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and inhale and come back to center. Check in with your elbows. If you're happy with this position, you happily stay here. Again, you can walk them forward or you can walk them back. Next exhale, you're going to take your chin to your chest. You're going to look under and see if you can see your own belly button. Pause here for a moment as you're looking at your belly button. Push your upper thoracic spine up and away from the floor. Yep. And then inhale, come into what we would call a little cow pose. So your chest dips, your gaze lifts, you come forward with the sternum. Nice work. Next exhale, go round under, looking under, maybe trying to find your belly button. Keep your pinky toes active in the floor. Yeah, fantastic. And then inhale, come forward back into your sort of a baby cow shape. You've got 3 more sets just like this. Exhaling, curling under, rounding in, looking at your navel. And then inhaling, coming forward, looking maybe towards the tip of your nose. Yep, 2 more on your own. Following your breath, keeping those pinky toes active, inner thighs bright. Nice work. Of course, I wasn't counting, but I think you guys have 1 more. Yep, all right. This next time as we come forward, inhale, I want you to isometrically pull back on the hands. See if you can lift up through the ears, lift up through the crown of your head. This time as you exhale, let's start to look under and see if maybe you can see your knees. Push the floor away with your forearms. Fantastic. Tops of the feet stay on the floor. And then inhale, come forward back to your baby cow. Awesome sauce. You got 4 more of those. So exhaling, rounding under, seeing if you can see your knees this time, lifting more of your lower belly away from the floor. Fantastic. And then inhale, coming up. 3 more. And we're finding our not so sneaky core work, as Erica might call it. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. Forearms stay on the floor, tops of the feet stay on the floor. Nice work. I think this is our last one. So this time as we come under, you're going to curl under, chin to chest, look towards your knees. Hover as much of your abdomen away from the floor. We're going to breathe here for 5 to 10 breaths. You keep lengthening your tailbone back. You press your pinky toes into the floor for dear life, and you see if more of your belly, can come away from the floor. More of your forearms can press down. And after you've taken your 5 to 10 breaths, because of course I'm not counting, you're going to lay all the way down on your abdomens and take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. And just notice if you feel a bunch of energy moving in your body and if it might perhaps be coming upward. And you just pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe. Check in with that low back. How's it feeling? And then when you're ready, we'll come back to our Sphinx pose. So hands directly underneath our shoulders. And again, we'll try that same thing we did before. So this time, though, I want you to actively push your tips of your fingers into the mat. Pull them back as you pull your heart forward. Then again, drop the right ear over to the right shoulder. Pull more with your left hand than your right hand, and then see if you can hug the shoulder blades onto the back to lift the sternum up a little bit more. Maybe open and close your mouth as you keep pressing out through pinky toenails and big toenails. Yep. Next in breath, come back up through center. And then exhale, other side. So actively push down through the hands, isometrically draw your right hand back, toes, legs active, shoulder blades on back, and just take a moment to pause and breathe, maybe opening and closing the mouth. Nice work. Inhale, come back through center. Cool. This time, we're going to curl our toes under. I want you to push back through your big toe mound and your pinky toe mound and lift up through your legs. And then you might want to walk your elbows back just a smidge. Curl under to look at your belly button. Start to lengthen your tailbone back and lift your hips up and away from the floor for forearm plank. Look at us go. Now you're going to pause here and breathe. You keep looking under, and then if that's happy for you, you stay there, or you extend your head in line with your spine, and we take 5 to 10 breaths. 5 to 10 breaths. You might also notice that you want to make fists with your hands and turn your palms to face each other. That might be easier on your shoulders. And you just pause and you breathe for 3. You pause and you breathe for 2. You pause and you breathe for 1. And then exhale, lower all the way down. Bring an ear to the mat. Take a moment to rest and just notice what you notice. How's the back? How's the body? How's the breath? How are you? So Mary Richards is fond of us doing core work right at the beginning of class, and so say thank you to her. And then bring the other ear to the mat. And you just pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe. All right, let's move on. Come back to Sphinx. Okay, so this time you guys can choose to stay here with your elbows underneath. You might choose to do a little bit more, but before we get into that, check in with your legs. Press the tops of your pinky toes and big toes into the mat. Lift up through your inner thighs and lengthen your tailbone back. Some of you will stay right here, shoulder blades on back, heart lifts up. Some of you might turn your hands out a little bit and then start to straighten your arms, coming into what we call seal pose in yin. And you're active through the legs. You're pulling the heart forward. You're just finding a nice, long, deep breath. Fantastic. Gently bend the elbows, release back down. Cool. We're going to add on. I encourage you to bring your hands to press each other. Curl both sets of toes under. Cool. Again, we're going to curl under, look under, lift our hips up. Awesome sauce. Now from here, we're gonna do some little hippie dips. So you exhale and twist your heels to the right, and then you come back to center, and then go to the left. And you might find that maybe you don't want to twist your heels, but you just want to twist your hips. You choose what works best for you, keeping the integration of your core. You're just pausing and you're breathing. We're finding our obliques. And you're doing about 10 sets. And after you've done that, you're going to find your way back to your tummies and you're going to rest. And you're just noticing what's happening there. So 10 sets on your own, finding our obliques. Yep. That's good, Rebecca. Nice, Roberta. Nice, Jenny. Nice control there, Erica. Yep. 10 sets and you're done, honey. Relax. On your tummies, just rest. I promise that was the hardest part of class. You're done. Nice, Robin. Awesome. Sauce. And then just take a moment to check in. Notice what you notice. Fantastic. All right, let's move on. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Press up to hands and knees. We're going to pause here. If you need to pad your knees with your blanket, by all means do that. And then we're going to find our sad non-California cows. So Rebecca, that's basically a tabletop, but your chest dumps to the floor and your head dumps to the floor because you don't live in California, so you're not a happy cow. And then you just pause. Hands are directly underneath your shoulders, so head drops. May I touch? Of course. And then lower your low back. Yeah. And so this is called static back by Pita Gosku. And what we're trying to do is find the integration of our shoulder joints. We're trying to find the weight of our head, the strength of our arms, and this expansion across our pelvic floor. So it feels like your buttocks just blossoms back behind you. And you just breathe here for a couple breaths. And then at the end of the next exhalation, I want you to contract everything under. So see if you can drop your tailbone and your head to the floor as you lift your upper lower back, your middle upper back, everything up and away from the floor. Yeah. And then inhale, find a proper cow shape, belly drops, head lifts, tailbone lifts. And then exhale, proper cat pose. And you'll just take 4 to 5 of those on your own, articulating through the vertebra of the spine, noticing how much movement you can get, because we spend a lot of time waking up the core, strengthening the core. That's good, Barbara. Okay. After you've done your 4 to 5, you're going to find yourself in a neutral position. Curl both toes, both sets of toes under if they're not. And then inhale, lift your tuchus up and back to downward facing dog. Pause here for a moment, both knees pretty super duper bent. And then as you push down and forward through the L shape of your hands, lift up through your happy armpits, push your shoulder blades down and forward to your hands, your shoulders then up towards your waist up towards your hips up to where the wall and the sky meet. Nice work. Let's go ahead and bend just our right knee. Cool. Some of you might lift all 5 toes on your left foot up and away from the floor. Notice what that does to the stretch happening in the back of your left calf. And then maybe lower the left toes down. Then switch sides, bend both knees, then straighten just the right leg. And then maybe lift all 5 toes on the right foot up and away from the floor. Then lower them back down. Awesome. And then pedal through your feet as you'd like. Just noticing if you like that weird sensation that comes by lifting the toes and increasing the stretch you're feeling on the back line of the body. Cool. And then when you're done, we'll find ourselves in a neutral position. Inhale, come forward into plank pose, fallen Kasana. Pause here. I know this is not going to be fun. On your next exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Ha-ha, hooray. At this point, you might want to bring your hands onto your blocks. So if I launch them very far in front of you, I'm so sorry about that. But you'll put your hands on your blocks and you'll take a moment here to lift up through your inner left thigh a little bit more. Hug your outer right hip in and then squeeze your inner left thigh to your right thigh. Inhale, reach your heart and sternum forward and just take a moment here to gaze. And then as you exhale, softly lower the back knee down to the blanket or to the mat. Cool. Inhale, lift the heart and sternum forward. And then exhale, shift your weight back, straighten your front leg long. Your blocks might need to walk back with you, or they might stay where they are, but you're going to take 5 of these. So inhaling, coming forward, bending the knee, lifting the chest. And then exhale, pressing the floor away, straightening the front leg, melting your sternum to your shin. Awesome sauce. 3 more times on your own. Just cycling forward and back, paying attention to how your front knee tracks over your front foot. Bless you. Bless you. 3 in a row. That's good luck. Paying attention how the front knee tracks over the front foot when you bend the knee in particular. And as you straighten the front leg, notice where you feel that. Cool. The next time you straighten your front leg, take a moment to just pause and breathe there. Maybe you start to peel the right sole of the foot up and away from the floor. Maybe you slide your heart forward a little bit more. Maybe you drag isometrically that right heel back as your left knee comes forward, but you just take a moment to pause and you take a moment to breathe. Nice work. Next in breath, let's shift our weight forward, plant the sole of your right foot on the floor, and then start to make your hands light on your blocks. Push down into your front foot, push down into your back knee, and then walk your hand to the center of your front thigh. Now from here, I really want you to think of pulling your pubic bone to your navel, your front ribs back, and keep pushing down into your left knee. Then you might reach your left arm forward, and you might stay here. You might reach the arm all the way up and overhead. So we're trying to look for a stretch just going across our front hip flexors, maybe thighs, maybe quadriceps. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will grab your left wrist with your right hand. You'll reach up and maybe take a baby side bend over to your right. Keep breathing. Keep drawing your front ribs into your back body. Keep pushing down into your right foot for dear life. And on your next in-breath, come up. As you exhale, hands come down to the floor. Let's extend the back leg long, so hopefully our toes are curled under. Plant your palms, step right foot back to left foot, planky-do. Pause and breathe. And you just notice how that feels. Notice how that feels. Next, exhale, bend your knees, lift your hips high, downward facing dog. Notice how this feels. See if you can observe what's happening on your right side versus your left side. And then when you're ready, we'll come forward into plank. Pause here. This is a horrible transition. Exhale, step your left foot between your hands. Nice job. Then bring your hands to your blocks if you'd like. And we'll take a moment to just find our low lunge here. So you'll lift up through your inner right thigh. Yep. You'll hug your outer left hip in and then hug your inner right thigh towards the left. See if you can then reach your heart and sternum forward and then gently, like majestic angels, lower your back knee down to the floor. Hooray. Or maybe aliens, that works too. And then inhale, heart and sternum. I don't know where I was going with that. Heart and sternum lift. Exhale, shift your weight back and straighten your front leg long. I think it's kind of like I took Ruby to the mechanic yesterday. Inhale, come forward. And you know when they put the cars on that thing that lifts them up? Well, when they lower them back down, it's like an alien landing or something because it's just so, never mind. I thought it was graceful. You've got 4 more of these. Just pause and breathe as you're moving in and out. Saying hello to your hamstrings. My friends that are experiencing yoga butt, see if you can really push into your front foot as you go back to keep the strength happening in the front leg as you lengthen the front leg. Awesome sauce. I was not counting. I think we have 1 more. Okay, the next time your front leg is long, you'll pause there for a couple of breath cycles. You might peel the sole of your left foot up and away from the floor. You might reach your heart and sternum forward. You might slide your left heel forward if it feels like that makes that easier for you to accomplish that. But you just pause and you breathe. Nice work. Next in-breath, let's shift our weight forward, plant the left foot onto the floor. Check in with that back knee. If you need to reposition it, by all means, do that before we do the next thing. So you'll push into your left foot, you'll push into your right knee, you'll start to walk your hands up to the center of your left thigh, And then again, we want to allow the tailbone to drop. The pubic bone draws up to the navel. The front ribs draw in and back, and we're actively pushing the front foot and back knee. Some of you will then reach your right arm forward, and maybe you just stay here, really culling those ribs into the back body. Maybe you grab your right wrist with your left hand, and then you'll inhale, reach up, and perhaps take a baby side bend over to our left. And again, we're just pausing and we're breathing. We're finding all this length happening on our right side body. Next in breath, go ahead and keep rooting down into that front foot, Julie. Come back up through center. As you exhale, hands come down to the floor. Curl back toes under if they're not. Straighten the back leg long and step back to plank pose. Hooray, we made it. Okay, take a breath in here. Next exhale, bend the knees, lift the hips, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. 3 breaths, and you just notice, how's the body? How's the breath? How are you? Can you find a little bit more of that cow shape in your pelvis? So your pubic bone lifts up and back, and you find that length between the hips and the backs of your ribs on the back body. Okay, let's move on. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. And just take a moment to see how this feels, really lifting through that inner right thigh. Nice. Exhale, step the knee to your nose, step the foot between your hands. Yep, fantastic. From here, you might bring your hands onto your blocks. And then again, we're going to take a moment to really root down into right foot, root down into left foot, reach heart and sternum forward, hug your outer right hip in, lift up through the inner left thigh. Heart reaches forward. As you exhale, push the front leg to straight, lower your chest towards your floor, and then inhale, heart and sternum reach forward. So you've got 4 more of these, and you're just bending and straightening that front leg. So it's similar to what we did before. The only difference now is the back leg is straight. You'll notice there's more weight in your feet. There's more activation happening in the body. Nice work. All right. You're just following your own breath. Big breath in. Big breath out. My hypermobile people, notice what happens when you straighten that front leg, not straightening it too much. Cool. The next time you straighten that front leg long, you'll just go ahead and take a moment to pause there. You might keep your back heel lifted. You might step it in a little bit and put the foot down onto the floor. That probably will require your left toes point out to the left just a little bit. Then hands on blocks, heart reaches forward, pull that outer right hip back. And then notice if you want to stay here or maybe peel the sole of your right foot up and away from the floor. That's probably more intense, so just modulate that for you. Great. Check in with your breath. How full, how deep, how consistent is it? Next in breath, go ahead and replant the sole of the foot, bend the front knee, shift to the ball of your back foot and pause. Now, I want you to imagine that for some reason I'm asking you to squeeze your feet together. And so you start to squeeze your feet together and your arms suddenly become light. Hands can come to the center of your front thigh. Keep squeezing your feet towards each other and then see if you can bring your spine a little bit more upright. You might stay there. You might release your hands up and overhead for Ashtanga Chandrasana, high crescent lunge. And then you just pause and you breathe and you're really rooting down through your feet. You're sucking them together. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will grab your left wrist with your right hand. You'll reach up through your left fingers and maybe take a baby side bend towards the right. Keep drawing your outer right hip back. Yep, drawing the low belly in. And on your next in breath, come back up through center as you exhale, hands to floor and step yourself back to downward facing dog. And you just pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe. And you notice what you notice. How's the right side? How's the left side? How's your breath? How are you? All righty, let's try the other side. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. As you exhale, pause here. See if you can, that looks really nice, Barbara. Lift through the inner left thigh. Nice, Robin. And then on your next exhale, good job there, Laura. Exhale, draw the knee to your nose. Plant the foot between your hands. Take a moment to pause there. Hands probably will be aided by putting them onto blocks. Yep. Nice transition, Robin. And you're just going to pause there. And you reach your heart and sternum forward. You see if you can lift up through that inner right thigh, draw the outer left hip back. And on your next exhale, we're going to straighten that front leg long, melt our sternum towards our big toe, and head towards the floor. Awesome. And then inhale, come forward. And you've got a total of 5 of these. So 4 more on your own. See how active you can push that left foot into the floor by rooting it from your left sit bone. So left sit bone pushes, 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 pushes to straighten the left leg. Yep. And you're just following your breath. You're seeing how that feels. I think we got maybe one more set. Next time your left leg is straight, you're going to pause there. Some of you will stay with the ball of the right foot as the only thing rooted on the floor. Some of you might step the foot in just a little bit so you can put the whole heel down. If you do that, your right toes are most likely spinning to the right just a smidge. And then you might lift your spine parallel-ish to the floor. You might walk your blocks back just a smidge so they're underneath your shoulders. And then you might start to peel your left foot up and away from the floor. And wherever you are, make sure you're breathing. Breathing, breathing, breathing. Nice, long, deep breath. Awesome stuff. Great. Next in breath, let's go ahead and shift our weight forward, plant the sole of the foot onto the floor, and maybe you need to walk your right foot back again. Now again, you squeeze your feet together, and you'll notice as you isometrically draw your feet together, that suddenly makes your hands a lot lighter. And then you can bring your hands to the belly of your front thigh, and maybe you stay right here, again, hugging those feet towards each other, right to left, front to back. And then maybe you notice that you can then release your arms out and up and overhead. Nice stability there, Julie. Julie, keep pressing from your left sit bone down to your left big toe. There we go. And then you'll pause here, and you might stay here. You might grab your right wrist with your left hand, lift up, relax your face. Maybe take a side bend over to the left. And again, you're drawing your outer left hip back. Outer left hip a little bit more, Robin. And then you breathe, and you notice what you notice. Next inhalation, come back up through center. As you exhale, hands come to the floor. Step yourself back this time. Actually, let's go to down dog, and then I'll shift you out of that. And you just pause and you breathe, and you notice what you notice here. Next in-breath, come forward into plank pose, fallen Asana. Awesome. And then you just pause here. We haven't been in plank in a while, but all that core work in before, you guys all look very stable. Nice work. Next in-breath, shift your weight forward. As you exhale, lower slower than you want to. So maybe 10 counts all the way to the floor. All the way to the floor, slower than you want to. Knees coming down is fantastic. Awesome. Once you're down, let's go ahead and pull our hearts and sternums forward and through and come into our cobra. Now we're going to pause here for a little bit. Most of us are probably in a very conservative cobra, so that's great. And I'm going to let you come back out of this because I'd like to set you up differently. So lay down, heads down to the floor. Separate your feet hip distance apart. Press the tops of your big toes and pinky toes into the floor and really strengthen through those legs, tops of the feet pressed down. Now, push your hands into the floor, isometrically pull them back as you reach your heart forward. Notice how the shoulder blades can now hug onto the back. Fantastic. You're going to isometrically pull your hands back. You're going to reach your toes back. You're going to push your big toenails, pinky toenails down, and you're going to start to push your hands into the floor. As you push your hands into the floor, you isometrically pull them back. You reach your heart and sternum forward, and notice that your baby cobra got a lot higher than it normally would. Okay, exhale, lower all the way down. Fantastic. Curl your toes under, come up through hands and knees or plank, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. Fantastic. Lower your knees down. Go ahead and lower your blanket down into the middle of your mat. And this is just a distraction as well as a reprieve before we do the next thing. Not sure how much of a distraction you're going to find it, but there's that. We're going to find ourselves in toe squat. So that's probably why it's not much of a distraction. So, what? Oh man, so people at home can't hear this, but Erica's little sister Rebecca is here. And I guess Erica must have told her about toe squat, or maybe she's tried it somewhere else because her first thought was toe squat. Oh, yay. So you're gonna take a few breaths in toe squat and you're just gonna breathe here. And you're just gonna notice what you notice. Where's the energy in the body? How do you feel it moving around? How's your breath? And you just got 3 to 4 more breath cycles here. And once you've had your 3 to 4 breath cycles, you're going to come out. You might pitter patter your toes. You might take a counter stretch. But the emphasis is just on having nice, long, stable breath. All right. At the end of this next exhalation, we're going to transition out. So either come forward, hands and knees, and pitter patter your toes, or come forward, hands and knees, and then take a counter stretch back, where then you lift maybe one and or both knees up and away from the floor, depending upon how your knees, shins, and ankles feel with that. Okay. All right. Moving on, back to downward facing dog. Okay, so we're going to keep that blanket there. Inhale, come back to plank. As you exhale, right foot between your hands. Ha, flop. Good job. Okay, now from here, again, we're gonna find our moment in this low lunge. So your fingertips become light, your hands are most likely on your blocks, your heart is lifting up, you're lifting through that inner left thigh. On your next exhale, you're gonna slowly descend your knee to the floor, almost like that elevator thing that lowers your car to the floor. And then from there, keep pushing through the floor to bring your hands to the front of your thigh bone. Now, again, tailbone drops, pubic bone draws in, front ribs draw back. And now I want you to find a baby back bend here. So some of you are literally just going to push on the top of your thigh, lift your sternum up, and start to arc your upper chest up and back. Some of you will reach more of your pelvis forward, but only you know how this feels in your back, and you know how this feels based upon how you're breathing. Fantastic. On your next in-breath, we'll gently bring our spine back up to vertical. Our hands will now come down to the mat. Extend the back leg long. And then again, push down into both feet so they are super strong. Now, step your back foot in a smidge and put the foot down so you've got long warrior two legs. And then inhale, open your spine to Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Cool. Fantastic. Now, once we find ourselves here in warrior 2, we want to make sure that we've got enough of a distance between our front foot and our back foot. Roberto, walk your back foot back just a little bit for me. Here we go. And then, just like we did last week, I want you to think of your left hip bone coming to the top of your space. So really allow that internal rotation of the back hip to happen. Then you can bend more through your front knee and draw the outer right hip back. From there, you're going to spin just your shoulders to the long edge of your mat. And you'll notice that there's a twist happening in the spine that's counter to the twist happening in your pelvis. Fantastic. And then let's go ahead and look over our front hand. Now I'm going to make you stay here for a minute. So those of you that like long holds, hooray for you. The rest of us, hooray for us for just being present. And you're just going to breathe. And you're just going to breathe. And you're just going to breathe. And I'm going to keep chit-chatting at you. And you're going to breathe and hold this crazy shape. And I'm going to keep talking because you've got still some more time to go. And you're breathing. That looks good, Laura. What? Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, this is the only shape you're holding. So the power yoga class that I've been taking this week, she was all about letting go of frustration. She made us hold this pose for a really long time after making us move a lot. And it was really irritating to me, but I felt so much better by the time I got out of it. So I figured we'd do the same thing. So you've got another 10 breath cycles here, and you just notice. This is a shape we go through every single day. But how often do we just sort of move through it? Okay, maybe you don't go through every single day, but I go through every single day. And sometimes I stay there and sometimes I don't. But the purpose of sort of holding these poses, and we don't always hold for very long, we start to feel a bit of energy come up, is that it teaches us how to sort of react or respond to other aspects of our life that cause us to feel a bit of frustration or anger, irritation, or heat. On your next in-breath, you're going to straighten your front leg long. You're going to turn to the long edge of your mat and find star pose. Hooray, we made it. We're superstars. Fantastic. Okay. So make sure your toes are parallel, or pinky toes are parallel to the outside edges of your mat. Whoa. And then you're reaching up through the hands, up through the sternum. Nice long breaths. Cool. Next exhale, hands come to your hips. You're going to turn your toes out, your heels in, and then we're going to set ourselves down for goddess pose. Now, notice if your feet are the appropriate distance for you. And then we're going to bring our hands to heart center. Cool. This is option. So this is, again, power yoga class or power vinyasa. She had us punching as we twisted to other sides. So you're going to exhale and you can punch and you can let go of whatever the heck you want to, but you're like, yeah, I found that as I did this, it was really kind of irritating. I was like, oh, there's that person I don't like. Here's my manager. There's my job. Like, it was fun. I was just like, okay. And so we're going to do this for like, I don't know, another 25 seconds or so. But you're just punching things out. And you notice that every time you exhale, you're letting go of whatever you don't need. So that's like sometimes the negativity, sometimes that's your exhaustion, sometimes that's just your resistance to just dealing with, hey, this is what's happening right now. I don't necessarily like it, but that's what's going on. And every inhale is you just letting in more of the stuff that lets you be your best, most beautiful, kind, brilliant self. All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, I don't know. Come back to center. I don't know why we got to 0, and then straighten both legs long. Turn both feet in. Take a moment to relax the arms and just notice. Well, there's a lot of energy. Just notice. How does that feel? How does that heat feel? How does it allow energy to move once you just actually let it move? Cool. Go ahead and open the arms out parallel to the floor, and then we're going to exhale, fold forward at our hips, Prasarada, Padottanasana. Now, hands might come to your feet. Hands might come underneath your shoulders. Hands might walk in front of you. Hands might walk between your legs behind you. But you take a few moments to just breathe. Notice if you want to bend or straighten one leg. Notice if you want to just stay completely still where you are. But you just pause and you just breathe and you notice what you notice. How is the energy? How's the mind? How's the body? How is the breath? Okay, those of you that are moving from right to left, please make sure you're balanced between both sides and then find your way back to center. And then from center, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, lift your spine parallel-ish to the floor. Turn to face the top of your space, low lunge, and then step your front foot back to meet your back foot. Hooray, plank pose, and then back to downward facing dog. And then in your down dog, just notice, how's the breath? How's the body? How are you? Cool. All right, we got to try all of that on the other side. Next in-breath, come forward into plank. Exhale, left foot steps between your hands. Hooray! Great. Now from here, again, hands to blocks. Find the stability of your feet, the weight, the power, the energy. Start to make the hands a little bit lighter. And then slowly, like an alien landing ship, lower your back knee down. It slowly descends. Yeah, cool. From there, push down through the points of contact with the floor, hands to the center of your thigh. And again, you might just stay here. You might just keep pulling those front ribs into the back body. You might start to then reach your sternum forward. And maybe it sort of creates a crescent moon to go up and back. Maybe you draw the shoulder blades together on the back. Maybe you lean more of your pelvis forward, but you just take a couple of breaths to pause here, to breathe. Nice work. And then Julie, can you keep the shoulder blades hugging onto the back to support the back bend? Yeah. Okay. All right. Next in-breath, bring the spine back up to vertical. As you exhale, hands come down to the floor. Curl the back toes under, straighten the back leg long. Fantastic. And then step your back foot in and spin it down for Virabhadrasana 2. Once that stability is in the legs, you can just radiate open into Warrior 2. Nice work. Cool. And then again, make sure there is enough distance right to left, front to back for your pelvis to feel happy with you. Erica, can you take a little bit wider stance front to back? There we go. Cool. And last week, we played with this, but we're really focusing on our back hip, our right hip, really allowing it to come more towards the front of the mat. It allows the internal rotation of the back leg. And then from there, you can externally rotate the front leg a little bit more to find that. So as the pelvis is doing this weird thing, our chest is sort of twisting in opposition. And then we'll find the extension out through the arms. And so it's a weird way to look at it, but generally it feels a little bit better in the sacrum and the pelvis and the low back because it's honoring those natural rotations. Cool. And then again, we have to stay here for a long time. So I'm going to chit chat at you and you're going to breathe through it all. And you just notice, how is the ability to just be here, maybe a little bit longer than you might choose to be here? How's that working out? And you just pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe. Oh, it's really stable for you, Julie. Good job. And you just pause and you breathe. We got another 20 breath cycles or so. I know. Am I going to tell you a story? Once upon a time, there was a princess. The princess was named Bob. I try to tell Charlie stories, and they start coming out like that, and she just gets lost very quickly. And I'm like, I'm not surprised by that. Okay, so you got another 5 breath cycles or so, and you're just pausing and you're breathing, and you're pausing and you're breathing, and you're noticing like all that energy that you just want to just let it go. On our next in breath, we're going to straighten the front leg long. We're going to reach both arms up. We're going to turn both feet parallel to the short edges of our mat. And again, we're going to reach up through our pinky fingers. We're going to reach up through our sternum, down through our tailbone, and just find this expansion. And on your next exhale, hands to hips. Turn your toes out, your heels in. And again, sit for goddess pose, horse stance. I'm going to move over here so I don't hit you, Rebecca. And then we are going to do our punches. So hands come to hearts. Jenny looks happy about that. And then heart and sternum lift. And okay, so this time you can go faster if you want. You can be more forceful. It really honestly helps the more you actively commit to that punch. It sounds weird, but like you just punch away. All right, go, go. Do, 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 boop, 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 boop. We got another 30 or so. Bump, 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 doot, bump. Bum, bum, dum. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ah, fantastic. Straighten the legs. Didn't that feel good? Lower your hands. Jenny's like, yeah, whatever. Right? It's very funny. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And so you'll just take a moment to pause here. Some of you will just stay and repeat the same thing that we did before, hands open. Some of you will interlace your hands at your low back. Only you will know what's best for you, but your heart will lift, your chest will lift. And the next exhale, start to scoop that belly, fold forward at your hips, folding in for Prasarita Padottanasana. If your hands are on your butt, maybe they stay there. Maybe they start to lift up and away from the floor. Maybe your hands slide down the legs to the feet and to the floor. Only you know what's best for you. But again, you take a moment to pause. You take a moment to breathe. And you just notice what you notice. Those of you with your hands behind your back, bring your hands to your butt, slide your hands down your legs, bring your hands to the floor. And then again, notice if you want to bend one knee and then the other. And you just pause and you breathe and you notice. For things to change, in some respects, we have to change. So that's not always the same thing. For some of us, that means we have to move more. So for some of us, that means we have to be more still. For some of us, that means we have to speak up. For others, it means we need to be quiet. It's always different. And only you can know, because only you are with you 24/7. So you just take a moment to check in and see what you see. And then on our next in-breath, let's lift our hands underneath our shoulders, spine parallel-ish to the floor. And then exhale, turn to face the top of your mat, low lunge. Step yourself back to a plank pose. If you've got that blanket there, you might leave it there, you might move it, but you'll then inhale and you'll come forward into your plank pose. Lower slower than you want to. It's like hit me with your best shot, but I can't sing that song. And you'll take a moment to rest once you get there. Once you're on your abdomen, you get to choose the back bend of your choice. So maybe you take a cobra, maybe you take a locust, maybe you take sphinx. You choose whatever the heck works for you. But you're going to take the back bend of your choice and you'll just pause and you'll breathe there for, I don't know, 5 breath cycles or so. And whichever option you've taken is a perfect option for you. You just pause and you breathe and you pause and you breathe. And after your 5 to 10 breaths, you lower your spine all the way to the floor. You bring an ear to the mat and you just rest. We started here and just notice what it feels like to be here once again. Go ahead and switch opposite ear. And again, you just check in. What do you notice? Okay. All right, let's come up to hands and knees. Cool, so we've got options. There is the option to take the blanket roll and put it on your lap again. There's the option to just put your fists into your psoas. And if you do this option, you're just going to push your hands in and then pull them up. And then you lay over that. If you choose to do this option, well, either option, your head might touch the floor easily. Great. Your head might not touch the floor easily. Great. If your head does not touch the floor easily, you might put a block underneath your forehead. But wherever you are, you're allowing the weight of either the blanket roll or your hands to really carve out space in your torso. Then you're noticing that once you're there, you can breathe across the back and you can feel that all the way down to your tailbone, maybe. And you just breathe and you let things soften. You notice if there's tension around your neck, your head, your shoulders. Then you see if you can take in a deeper breath. And you've got about 4 or 5 more breath cycles here. And at the end of your 4th or 5th exhale, you'll slowly come up. And you'll either remain as you are sitting in Vajrasana, or you might slide a block underneath your tuchus and sit for a moment in Virasana, hero's pose. And then if you're feeling like you need a bit of inspiration, your palms will remain facing up. If you're feeling like you need a bit of grounding, your palms will face down, but you'll just take a few breath cycles here. And you just notice. Great. All right. Last thing. Let's come forward. We're going to make our way to dolphin. So we're going to lower our forearms down onto the mat. And for this, just as usual, I encourage you to bring your elbows slightly inside of your elbows. So, wow, yep, shoulders inside of your elbows doesn't work. Actually, it does, I guess, but bring your elbows inside of your shoulders and you're going to push the palms into each other. So let's do palm prayer hand, okay? And then I want you to notice that as you push the palms into each other, you can start to tuck your chest or chin to your chest, curl your toes under. Now you can spread wide across your forearms. So now your forearm skin will catch your mat and then lift your hips up and back. Cool, Rebecca, come down for me, please. I want you to find cat pose first. Keep that, then lift your hips. Awesome. And then some of you will walk your feet in towards each other, in towards your face, forward towards you. And then you just find this breath. And if you still have that prayer arms, you can press your pinky fingers down as a karate chop action. And that still allows your inner armpits to lift up, the shoulder blades to widen on your back. That looks nice, Barbara. And some of you might lift one leg and then the other. Julie, push down more through your arms for me. Yeah. Julie, I'm curious. Can you come down for me? Now let's have you start again. Walk your elbows in a little closer towards each other for me. Just a little bit. Yep. Now come into a cat shape with your spine. So look towards your pubic bone. Now see if you can widen your elbows out. So let them catch your mat. They just isometrically move. Now lift your hips up and back and see how that goes. Oh, that looks so much better in your shoulders, Julie. Does that feel good? Okay, awesome. And then when you're done with that, you just go ahead and come down. Nice, Jenny. Can you walk your both feet to your face? Can you draw your knees into your chest? You're like, no. Okay, you're almost at the point where you can start to bring your feet in. Maybe another day. Cool. And then you'll just rest. You'll just rest. You'll just rest. Cool. And then once you're done with that, you'll slither yourselves forward onto your bellies. Your heads are facing the top of your space. You slither yourselves onto your bellies. As you're coming there, if you're at home and you don't have a prop fairy, you might need to grab your straps and bring them with you. But if you do have a prop fairy, maybe the prop fairy will bring it over to you. Then heads up, 7 up once again, and you just notice. There's it on the box. Where's the box? Oh. So heads up, 7 up, right where we started. And you just take a couple of moments to breathe. And you just take a couple of moments to breathe. And notice if anything has shifted. You're welcome. And then from there, you'll roll over onto your backs like little sausages in a pan. Little sausages in a pan. And once you find yourself on your back, like happy little sausages, you might start by either keeping your knees bent or your legs straight, but just find what feels like a neutral spine to you. And just check in and see how that feels. Cool. Oh, I like that angle, Barbara. That's great. I can see everything now. And then from here, let's open our arms out into a T shape, bend both of your knees and plant your feet firmly on the floor. Cool. Now, depending upon how wide your Y angle is, so women, you typically have a longer wide angle. You might want to put a blanket in between your thighs. And then you're going to lift your butt up. You're going to slide your pelvis over towards your right. You're going to put your butt back down and then let the legs fall over to the left. And so that blanket, it can be between your knees and your ankles so that you find a little bit more symmetry. And if you've been experiencing digestive issues, which honestly, probably a lot of anger is us not being able to digest things properly, from the sense that we're not articulating what we need, we're not able to digest it. You would draw your knees closer to your chest so that angle decreases between your hips and your thighs, or your belly and your thighs. And then you'll just start breathing across your abdomen on the right side. You might find that you want to bring your right hand to your right low belly. You might want to bring your left hand to the top of your right hip. But you're just going to take a couple of breath cycles to see how much of your right side body you can pour to the floor behind you. And the lady that was having us do the yoga therapeutics class, we stayed in this shape for about 5 minutes. I wish we'd been here for like 20 because it just felt really nice the longer we stayed here. Just pause and you breathe. And you're really trying to find your diaphragmatic breath. So I guess a way to think about this is as you inhale, see if you can allow your diaphragm to distend, to go down towards your pelvis. And then as you inhale, it just releases and it comes back up. And you take a couple of breath cycles here, seeing how much of your right side body you can pour onto the floor. Great, and we'll just take 1 or 2 more breath cycles here. And on your next in-breath, you'll gently come back up through center. I want you to pause for a moment in center and just notice if you notice anything between the right side and the left side. Let me take this. Okay. And then when you're ready, you're gonna lift your pelvis up. You're gonna slide your butt over to the opposite side. So I guess that's now your left side. And allow your legs to fall to the right. And then notice the closer that you bring your knees to your chest, especially if you're having digestive issues, it'll compress those organs there, which hopefully will help you have a bowel movement. Let take this. Then you'll just take a few breath cycles here. And Rebecca, can you lift your legs and lift your feet? That feel better? Okay. And then you just pause and you breathe. And maybe your right hand comes to the top of your left thigh. Maybe your left hand comes to your left low belly, low back area. And you then see if you can, again, inhale and breathe into the belly, breathe into the ribs, breathe into the organs down there that you're not actually going to breathe into. And then in every exhale, how much of the left side body can you spill to the floor? And you just pause and you breathe and you pause and you breathe. Okay. Nice job. Got about 3 more breath cycles here. The end of the next exhalation, you'll inhale and come back through center. Take a moment to re-square your pelvis underneath your shoulders, move that blanket, and just notice if you notice anything happening for you. Okay. Gently draw your knees into your chest. You might take a moment to just squeeze the shin bones into your chest to again find some compression on the abdomen, on the organs. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will slip your hands through the inner edges of your thighs, grab the outer edges of your feet, press the soles of the feet towards each other. Feet towards each other. There we go. Make your sacrum super, super duper duper heavy. Keep pressing the feet into each other. Notice if there's any stretch happening on the inner edges of your thighs. Some of you will stay here. Some of you might extend the feet to the sky, the knees to the floor, and find Ananda Balasana, happy baby. If you do that, keep your sacrum as rooted as it is right now. And you just pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe. Awesome. The end of this next exhalation, draw the knees back into the chest, plant the feet firmly on the floor. Make sure your feet are pretty close to your pelvis, and then I want you to see if you can strengthen or straighten your arms. So really push your arms into your thighs. That sounds weird. But you're trying to find elongation through your spine. So for me, my thumbs spin to the inner edges of my thighs, my fingers spin to the out, but I have really long arms. You might need to have your hands more in a neutral position. Okay, and then you'll gently release that. Bring your hands alongside your hips. Turn your palms to face the sky. Walk your shoulder blades underneath you. From here, push through your feet, push through your arms, push through your head, lift your hips. Once your hips are to the height that you'd like, maybe you grab the outside edges of your mat. Maybe you walk your shoulder blades underneath you even more and robot your arms. Maybe you interlace your hands. You choose what option works best for you. But I'd like you to notice what happens if you press into the big toe mound of your feet, if you lift the outer edges of your hip, if you push your upper arm bones down, your head down, chin to chest just a little bit. There you go. And you just pause and you breathe. And there's activation, noticing what's happening on the shoulder blades and the back body as you're here. And 3 or 4 more breaths. The end of your, I don't know, next exhalation, gently release everything down. Again, take a moment to be still. Just notice what's happening in the spine. And then if you'd like, your hands come to the top of your thighs again. You push your thighs away from you to find a little bit of traction, elongation in your low back especially. Cool. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will draw your right knee into your chest. You might then grab your strap and put your strap across the ball of your right foot. You might then send your right foot up to the other side of it. And then make sure you have one end of the strap in each hand. Press up through the heel, the big toe mound, the pinky toe mound. Pull down with all 5 toes. Some of you will stay here with the left leg bent. Some of you will slide the left foot long against the floor beneath you. If that left leg does become straight, remain neutral in that leg. So the inner thigh rolls more to the floor. Then you draw your outer right hip towards your inner left thigh. And then notice if you're holding on to it like for dear life, or if you can broaden the chest, broaden the collarbones, find ease in the neck. Sometimes you might actually have to lift your head up and reposition your head. So there you go. So the whole spine feels long. And some of you will stay here. Oh, I like that, Barbara. Doesn't that feel nice? Yeah, I like it with the blanket. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will externally rotate your right leg. So that means your right toes will start to point towards the right. You might bring both ends of the strap into your right hand. And then you might start to open your right leg over to the right as your left arm goes out to the left for counterbalance. Yep. Now, if you're doing this, you really have to externally rotate that right thigh. So it feels like you're drawing your outer right hip back and under. You're keeping your pelvis rooted and your belly button is turning to the left for dear life. And you pause and you breathe. You feel that stretch happening on the inside edge of your right leg. We didn't do a triangle pose today, so you're just pausing and you're breathing. Now, when you're ready, you'll inhale, you'll come back up through center. As you exhale, you'll bend the knee, you'll release the strap, you'll put the foot on the floor, knee bent, and then you'll drag your left leg to meet the right and just notice what you notice between the sides. And then when you're ready to try the other side, you'll draw your left knee into your chest. You'll put the strap across the ball of your left foot. You'll send your left foot up towards the sky. And again, make sure you're holding on with each hand, broadening across the collarbones, kicking up through your left foot, heel, big toe down, pinky toe down, pulling toes down. Some of you will keep your right leg bent. Some of you will slide it long against the floor. And again, if the right leg is long, we want to find it in a neutral position. So the inner right thigh rolls to the floor a smidge, and then your outer left hip draws into your inner right thigh. Then you pause and you breathe here. And some of you will stay right here. Some of you will draw both ends of the strap into your left hand. You'll externally rotate the left leg so the toes point towards the left. Your right arm might go out to the right for counterbalance as the left leg opens to the left. Yep. And you just pause and you breathe. Your belly turns for dear life. Yep. A little bit more there, Erica, to the right. And you just pause and you breathe. Gently externally rotate that left leg. Excuse me. Okay. We're gonna roll this one down, and this one comes under. It's like Alice Cohen in ballet. Can you hold it if I let go? Okay. And the next in breath, come back up through center. Gently bend the knee. Release the strap. Put the foot on the floor. This time, separate your feet wider than your hips. Open the arms into a T shape. And then I want you to slowly just drop your right knee to the floor. So you might need to walk your feet. Sorry, that was not clear. Drop your right knee to the left. So it's internal rotation. See if you can keep the left leg as it was. And then come back up through center and then drop the left knee to the right. And if you need to widen your feet to do that, by all means do that. You're trying to find the internal rotation because we haven't done a lot of that. So you'll do that a couple of times. You just feel how that feels across your quads, how that feels in the hip socket, how that feels in the low back. Now, once you're done with that, if there's anything else you feel like you'd like to explore, by all means do that. Otherwise, start to make your way to your final resting pose. You do have lots of support around you, so maybe you want to take Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees open like a book, blocks supporting outer thighs. Maybe you want to take Shavasana. Maybe you want to elevate your head a little bit. You choose what works best for you. And then you're going to find yourself in that shape. Now, the body temperature does tend to drop in Shavasana, so if you would feel more comfortable, yep, I got you, Roberta. If you would feel more comfortable, you might put a blanket on top of you or cover the body. And then you're going to take your first few breath cycles here to really settle, making sure the right side and the left side feel equally rooted and weighted. So if you need to fidget, you fidget. And you want to try to find a still neutral spot. And then you'll take a big breath in through the nose and an audible breath out through the mouth. And you'll do that 2 more times. Big breath in and a big breath out. Last time, big breath in and big breath out. Awesome. Now, as you're here for today, we're going to bring our awareness to the sensations. So I want you to become aware of all the sensations in your body. And you'll notice that as you do that, your awareness is going to travel through the body. And so you might find that your awareness travels kind of sporadically from the feet to maybe the head, to the back of the body, the front of the body, the right side, the left side, your inner and outer space. And you just observe, take in all the sensations that you experience. And you might notice that the more you just allow those things to be there, the more they naturally start to shift on their own. And again, your awareness just stays on following the sensation. Whenever you notice yourself become, I don't want to say trapped, but that's the first word that came up, but engaged in thought, happily notice that. And then see if you can return to the awareness of sensation. And I'll leave you here for a couple of minutes, a few more breath cycles with you, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. And to the best of your ability, I do encourage you just stay with the sensation. Notice what happens just by giving it your undivided attention. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger here, please stay here. When you are ready to move, allow movement to re-enter into your physical form in a very gentle, nurturing, nourishing way. Again, those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those in movement, you'll start to make your way to your right side. And I would encourage you to take a couple of breaths on your right side, maybe making your body long, like Indalasana shape. If it feels better, you can curl into my fetal position shape, but just take a few breath cycles on the right side. Those on your right side, you'll start to roll your chest more towards the floor. Press into your hands and draw your spine up to a tall vertical position. When you are upright, please elevate yourself on something. And I guess I should say your butt, because I don't know what else you might elevate yourself on, but sit on a block, a blanket, a pillow. And then once you're seated, if you need to move around a little bit so you feel like you've got a comfortable position, do that. So if you need to move any flesh, do that. If you need to circle the shoulders, do that. If you need to circle the neck, do that. But see how you can find a comfortable, energetic, yet relaxed and alert position. And then once you're there, I want you to place your hands in whatever position feels calling to you. So whatever is calling you. For some of you, hands might come to heart and stomach. They might face the sky. They might face the ground. So plant your hands wherever it feels like it is just beckoning you. And then I want you to just see if you can become aware of the sensations here. You might begin with just noticing the feet, your ankles, your knees, your thighs, your pelvis, your sit bones, the vertebra, the shoulder blades, the humerus, the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, the palms, the fingers, your neck, your jaw, your skull. You might begin to then become aware of the fleshy parts covering those bones. And so as we're here, you're just going to notice what you notice. And then to take it a little bit deeper, I want you to notice who or what is noticing. I think sometimes in our lives it can become very easy to get caught up in the sensations that are happening in our lives, the stories, the events, the situations. We can sometimes lose track of ourselves. But if we allow ourselves to notice the sensations and then to notice who or what is noticing, we can allow ourselves to come back to ourselves. And ultimately, if we notice that part, we might even notice the one that's noticing the noticer. which will connect more to our divine self. So as you're here for these last few breaths, last few moments, I just invite you to notice what you notice and then see how you can step back just a little bit more to notice that which is noticing. Gently bring your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms actively towards each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum and then press your sternum into your thumbs. Gently bow your chin just a smidge so the back of your neck becomes long, and then exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in through the nose. Audible breath out through the mouth. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open to that light, to that breath, to that awareness. We bow. Namaste.